What's up guys, Joey here for Tech, and the Realme 5 series has just been launched here in the Philippines. The standard Realme 5 immediately has a very close competitor in the OPPO A9 2020, in terms of specs on paper at least. So which one is the better deal? Find out in this comparison review. Starting with design, the A9 2020 has the typical glass back design with gradient colors that we see on a lot of phones these days. Overall, it looks premium, pleasant to the eyes, and stylish. The quad camera module is placed on the center of the back together with the fingerprint scanner that's kinda off to me because of its small size and non-circular shape. Meanwhile, the Realme 5 sports a polycarbonate back that has sort of a diamond pattern. The quad camera setup is placed on the upper left corner here with the LED flash next to it. On the upper center of the back is a rear-mounted fingerprint scanner. In front, both devices sport a water drop notch that houses their respective selfie cameras. Moving to the sides, 4 buttons and ports. Both devices' power buttons can be found on the right. On the left side for both devices, we can find the volume buttons, as well as the dual SIM trays with a dedicated micro SD slot. At the bottom, the A9 2020 has a USB-C port, while the Realme 5 has a micro USB port. Both devices also have a loudspeaker, microphone, and 3.5mm headphone jack at the bottom. So for design, I actually like the Realme 5's overall look more because of its diamond pattern at the back and the better fingerprint scanner. However, let's not forget that the A9 2020 does have a USB-C port, so for that alone, it's a win in my books. For display, both the A9 2020 and Realme 5 get a 6.5-inch IPS screen with a resolution of 1600 by 720, and with Corning Gorilla Glass 3 protection for the A9 and Gorilla Glass 3 Plus for the Realme 5. Both devices have slim bezels on top and the sides, but a thicker chin. Both screens offer a so-so viewing experience. Colors aren't that bad, and watching videos is a shame because neither of them have 1080p displays, and they get sufficiently bright under sunlight. So while both displays aren't that bad and having a notch is not that big of a deal, the resolution will suffice for day-to-day use. Now checking out hardware, both devices are powered by the same Snapdragon 665 chipset with an Adreno 610 GPU. The A9 2020 has 8GB of RAM, while the Realme 5 has either 3 or 4GB of RAM depending on the variant you get. For multitasking workloads, the A9 2020 definitely has the advantage due to the larger RAM size. But for overall performance, you can expect it to be the same for both, especially with gaming. The experience is decent, but still not the best you can get at this price range. But checking out our benchmark scores, we can see some differences here. The Realme 5 gets a higher Antutu score, which is kinda odd, but the A9 2020 does get faster read speeds on its internal storage, which will make overall system snappiness even better. Both devices sport a 5000 mAh battery, but neither gets any form of fast charging. In our standard video loop test, the A9 2020 got a total of 19 hours of playback, while the Realme 5 got 22 hours and 13 minutes. For the PCMark Work 2.0 battery test, the A9 2020 yielded a result of 15 hours and 18 minutes, while the Realme 5 got 16 hours and 15 minutes. So with results this close, they're pretty much the same in this aspect, with only a slight advantage for the Realme 5. In day-to-day usage though, both devices will last you probably more than a whole day of moderate usage, but if you're a heavy user, you'll probably need to go for a charge in the middle of the day. For software, both devices run ColorOS 6 on top of Android 9 Pie. Now there aren't many differences, if at all, functionally, between the Realme and OPPO versions of ColorOS, but it's a pretty good Android skin either way, even if you're not familiar with it. I find it to be more intuitive and user-friendly than something like FunTouch OS or even EMUI, and yeah, it works. For biometric security, both have rear-mounted fingerprint scanners and facial recognition. The fingerprint scanners are probably what you want to use for the most part, because if you saw our full review of the Realme 5, the face unlock isn't really that secure. Checking out cameras real quick, the A9 2020 has a quad rear camera setup consisting of a 48MP main, 8MP ultra-wide, 2MP depth sensor, and a 2MP monochrome sensor. For selfies, a 16MP shooter. The Realme 5 gets a quad rear camera setup as well, a 12MP main, 8MP ultra-wide, 2MP depth sensor, and a 2MP macro lens. Up front is a 13MP selfie shooter. Checking out the shots from the rear cameras, the difference isn't apparent at first glance, but when you look closer and see the detail and colors, the A9 2020 definitely has the advantage here. Shots from the Realme 5 are just less saturated and softer than what you want to see from a photo. For portrait mode, both devices have good subject background separation thanks to their dedicated depth sensors, but the A9 2020 definitely has the clearer shot with better skin tones. And again, for selfies, 20s, the Realme 5 shots are just a lot softer with less vivid colors, while the A9 2020 is able to produce better results with a natural look. For night shots, these are taken with night mode turned on for both phones. The Realme 5's shots are a little bit washed out with blown out highlights, and while the A9 2020 shots aren't perfect, they're a lot more acceptable than the Realme 5's. So yes, I know this camera section is shorter than usual, but it doesn't take a well-trained eye to see that the A9 2020 has the advantage in raw overall photo quality. It has the advantage in camera hardware and seemingly software. Now to wrap this up, let's talk about price. The OPPO A9 2020 is priced at 15,990 pesos, and that's for 8GB of RAM and 128GB of internal storage. The Realme 5 gets 3 configurations starting at 6,990 pesos for the 3GB plus 32GB model. So that's a pretty big gap in pricing even between the highest model of the Realme 5 and the A9 2020. If you're looking for a Snapdragon 665 phone at a lower price, then the Realme 5 will definitely do, but don't expect a lot from the cameras. But if you want better cameras, of course, better go for the OPPO A9 2020 or even the Realme 5 Pro. But having said that, even if the A9 2020 did win this comparison review, perhaps at this price point, it's still not the best deal you can get, especially with phones like the Xiaomi Mi 90 Pro and Huawei Nova 5T just sitting about 3,000 pesos away. So that's it for this comparison review, guys. Let us know your pick in the comments down below. Realme 5 or OPPO A9 2020. And if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content, hit the bell icon to know about any future uploads, and be sure to visit yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. This has been Joey, and I'll see you guys in the next one.